Welcome to a completely factual guide to Guild Wars 2, The Elder Dragons. Okay, so, Guild Wars 2 has a lot of lore and history, like 10,000 years worth, and a whole other game. But pretty much, Guild Wars 2 is a story of something called the Elder Dragons. So, basically, there's these 6 dragons. There's that time, 7? No, 4? Okay, so there's a bunch of dragons, and they're all bad guys. Wait, no, that's not right either. There's a good one, and then the most recent one was kind of neutral, but sort of a sociopath. Okay, so they're plot devices, and they exist in the game. Each of them has 2 specific spheres of influence, a certain way that they make their minions, some notable event that they were part of, and also, each one has a particular weakness. Zhaitan. This is the Elder Dragon of Death and Shadow. I have no idea what the Shadow part is about. It's pretty much just the Death Dragon. Zhaitan corrupts corpses and raises them as zombies. That's pretty much his MO. So there's this human empire called Or, and it's on an island far to the south of the land of Tyria, which is where Guild Wars 2 takes place. And it got nuked or something and then sank to the bottom of the ocean. I'm not really sure how the physics works with that one. But anyway, Zhaitan was sort of nearby, and he's like, hey, you know what? I could use a whole country of zombies, so I'm going to pick that up from the bottom of the ocean, and I'm going to put it right here. It's kind of like if England sank to the bottom of the ocean and a zombie dragon were like, you know what, I'm going to make these people even pastier and the weather even gloomier than it already is. And then it raised it from the bottom of the ocean, and that's Or, pretty much. Zhaitan's weakness is, so he has parts that fall off and you have to kill them, and then he can't eat or something, and he goes blind. Wait a minute, how did I just realize one of these dragons has diabetes? Mordramoth. Mordramoth is the dragon of plant and mind. Pretty much it can control plants and plant people, which is one of the races you can play as in the game. So, at the start of this first expansion, there's this stuff going on in the jungle, and then the player character decides to take a giant army and go check it out, and they all get massacred by Mordramoth. It's kind of like the Parent Trap. If the parents were the ones playing pranks on their kids and were also a talking tree and a tree dragon, and by pranks, I mean mind control and mass murder. Yeah, so pretty much the Parent Trap. Mordramoth's weakness is psychiatry. No joke, you go inside of his mind and deconstruct him to death or something. Kralkatorrik. Kralkatorrik is the dragon of crystal and fury. He makes his minions by pretty much going to an area and going woo, and then everything turns into fine china. Buildings, people, prayer dogs, whatever. So Kralkatorrik is actually involved in one of the bigger stories of Guild Wars 2, sort of setting up the game and the main characters. Pretty much the main characters that you meet as the player character all tried to sort of ambush him with the help of one of his own minions, and he kills a bunch of them. And this sets up the tension at the beginning of the game because the main NPC characters all blame Logan Thackeray for leaving and wanting to protect Queen Jenna, even though, their main weapon that they were counting on didn't work, and it was a couple people with sticks trying to attack a giant dragon who clearly had plot armor. But no, it's totally Logan's fault. Kralkatorrik's weakness is, look, I've done this mission 3 times. I still don't really get it. It's like if madness were a solid thing, like cotton candy, and then you have to go through a jump puzzle that's in the cotton candy in order to kill a talking rock. That means you killed an elder dragon. Jormag. Jormag is the elder dragon of ice and persuasion. Jormag finds minions not by corrupting them, but by offering them power, like some kind of reptilian Sith Lord. So the major story that Jormag is involved in is the most recent storyline, in which they convince one of the Char leaders to bring them an entire willing army of Char, and then double-cross the same Char leader and turns them into their mouthpiece. It's kind of like if you were standing there and a dragon snuck up behind you and then whispered, "You're my puppet now, boy," and then slapped a giant frozen BDSM collar around your neck, except instead of around your neck, it is your neck, and now the dragon can talk through you. It's kind of like that. Jormag is also the first dragon that has two weaknesses. The first is Jormag's twin brother, Primordius, the next dragon on our list. The second is the player base getting bored with the pacing of the story. Primordius. Primordius is the dragon of fire and conflagration. And yes, for those playing the home game at home, that does mean fire and big fire. I didn't write it. Primordius makes his minions by building them out of Legos and then teaching them how to breathe fire, I guess. Primordius hasn't really been involved in any stories in Guild Wars 2 yet. He's the next one coming up. You learn a lot about his minions in the first game, but that's a whole nother video. Primordius' weakness, insofar as we know, is Jormag. The Deep Sea Dragon. The Deep Sea Dragon is one that we know very little about. So I'm going to preface this entire section with all of this is speculation. Its spheres of influence are probably water, being that it's the sea dragon. And I'm going to guess something like fear or terror. Jormag actually tells us about terrors that lurk just beyond the horizon, and most people have accepted that they're talking about the Deep Sea Dragon. Much of the player base refers to the Deep Sea Dragon by the moniker Bubbles, though some have begun referring to it by a different name. There's a part in the story where several scholars are talking about some ancient text that the human gods wrote on the back of a cocktail napkin that includes the first letters of all the dragons' names, and one of them is S. So naturally, the players started calling the Deep Sea Dragon Steve, as you do. We have no idea how the Deep Sea Dragon makes its minions. I'm going to speculate that it probably drives them to madness or something similar to that. We don't know what the dragon's weaknesses are, though if I had to guess, it would be ArenaNet's inability to correctly make an underwater zone. The last Elder Dragon on our list is Aurene. Aurene is the dragon of crystal and light. Now those people who have been listening to this entire video are probably like, hey, wait a minute, talking voice guy, didn't you already say that the cotton candy dude was the crystal dragon? What gives? Well, astute listener, after you defeat Kralkatorrik, Aurene absorbs his powers and becomes the new crystal dragon. Aurene is actually the only good elder dragon that I talked about earlier, and is one of the main characters in the most recent story, as you, the player character, are actually her champion. Aurene only has one minion that we know of, and that is the main NPC character named Case. In her case, it's kind of like the other crystal dragon turning everyone into China, but she was willing, and she also doesn't go mad and maintains her sanity. This concludes today's completely factual guide, and now you, dear viewer, are better prepared to face the adventures ahead. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and consider leaving a comment below and let me know what other games you'd like to see. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to see more completely factual guides to your favorite games.